Question for the audience out there. Um, does anybody feel a little bit hard about Joe Burrow and his health? Because we're talking about the Bengals today, everybody, and I just can't help but feel like, how many more of these type of conversations are we going to have about the Bengals would have been better if Joe Burrow wasn't hurt? And that is my fear, that his career could be cut incredibly short and inconsistent because he keeps getting hurt. Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals of 2023. Ah, Cincy, the lovable losers of the NFL. I remember growing up where, Corey Dillon, Peter Warrick, and before he changed his name 35 times, Chad Johnson. And then they got Carson Palmer. And there was a thought that the Bengals were going to be good. And when they had those, division wins, they get eliminated in the first round and they go back to being, mediocrity. So seeing the Bengals get Joe Burrow and then seeing them become almost Super Bowl champions, and then seeing that every year that now the Bengals are in the conversation, almost to the point of there being like the number 2 team behind the Chiefs in their own respective conference, when Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen had way more time to showcase that they are probably the best number 2 behind Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then you saw this year, even I was thinking a 13-win season for the Bengals. 13 wins, easy, win the division, cruise into the playoffs, and probably win it. At least the AFC. That's what I was thinking. I think a lot of us were thinking that too. But then Joe Burrow got hurt just over the halfway mark. And there was Browning, who was, I remember him at Washington, which I totally forgot who he was until I was like, that guy looked familiar. Oh, he's from Washington. I remember him. They took the team to the playoffs. They lost to Alabama. What a surprise. Ha 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 ha. And thought that maybe the Bengals can find a way to sneak into the playoffs. Now, the Bengals were the last spot in their respective division with a 9-8 record. That's 9-8 wins you the NFC South. 9-8 gets you a playoff spot. The Bengals literally were probably a game away from getting into the playoffs and having the entire AFC North in the playoffs, which I'm still hoping that happens soon. Now that we have that extra playoff spot, that an entire division of teams make the playoff at the same time. That is like my hope that happens. So maybe we can hope for later. But 9-8 was last place. So I'm just going to put a nice little sticker on the fact that the AFC North was the best division. Everybody had a winning record. Everybody was competitive. And Joe Burrow got hurt pretty much halfway through the season, and they still had 9 wins. And they started the season off 0-2. Again. Which goes back to my point of going 0-2 is not literally a death sentence in today's NFL. I don't think it is anymore. So to me, you go 0-2, it means really nothing. So Cincinnati, Joe Burrow got hurt. I feel bad for them. Let's find some positive, because there was a lot of positive. And I think the best way to start with positive is week 8, which is your best game of the Cincinnati Bengals season versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, 2 things to keep in mind. This was the 3rd game of the San Francisco's random 3 straight losing streak at the time. So after this loss to the Bengals, the Niners got their shit together and they, did great. And they made it into the Super Bowl, so we don't worry about it too much for them. But this, to me, I feel like maybe it's a little tainted for some fans, or for some, expert analysis out there, that, well, the Niners were losing their identity, so the Bengals took advantage of a very, very weak opponent, or a wounded opponent, mind you. And I would say, okay, I can see it, but Brock Purdy still threw for nearly 365 yards, and George Kittle went over 100, almost went 150 in receptions. So to me, it's hard to look at it. And San Francisco had 460 yards. Now, granted, They also gave up 400 yards to the Bengals offense and time of possession. But to me, I just can't really say. So you're telling me that the Bengals took advantage of a weak opponent when it seems like the 49ers took this game incredibly serious. And the Bengals come in and, Joe Burrow didn't have oh my God, a great year, but he still had over 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jamar Chase had 10 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. And the rushing attack, John Mix had 87 carries 87 carries, 16 carries, 87 and a touchdown. So all the main captains of the offense was clicking, and they just took advantage of it in this game, which I thought was going to be the Super Bowl preview. Bengals versus 49ers, and third time the charm, the Bengals beat the Niners this time and win their first Super Bowl. That was the narrative I was hoping for until Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their public relationship, and I was like, well, that's going to happen. So this is the best game. This to me showcased that, one, they were on the road, they were in San Francisco. The Bengals were teetering at 500 at the time, so they weren't but going on the road against a 49er team that probably was begging to showcase to the NFL and showcase to their fan case that, yes, we're on a slum, but we're not going to give up on the season. We're not going to surrender the season. We're still going to take names and kick ass. And they tried. But the Bengals came in probably with a little bit more adversity, a little bit more, okay, guys, we're at 500. We need to figure out who we are. And San Francisco is not going to give us an easy pass. So to me, this is the Bengals' best game on the road, big opponent, potential Super Bowl matchup. Didn't happen, but could have. And to me, this is the type of game that I feel like that makes ESPN and Bengal fans very happy to be like, Bengals could be a team we need to pay attention to because they could potentially be a Super Bowl contender for the next 10 plus years. Hopefully that could be a case. I mean, I'd like to see a new team win a Super Bowl. They're probably my top team, probably a little bit higher than Detroit to be the first franchise to win the first ever Super Bowl. That is probably who I'm rooting for, is the Bengals. Maybe Bengals and Lions Super Bowl. That'd be great. We'll call it the Catfight Super Bowl. Okay, that's going to be a meme. So, that was your best game. Flex your strength. Congratulations. Now your worst game. Now, I'm not calling this your worst game as in like, my God, you guys play like utter garbage. But it's a game that I just want to be like, maybe you didn't take what they did the week before seriously. And that is your week 10 versus the Houston Texans. Now, for those of you that pay attention, and those of you who are aware that are not Texan fans, because Texan fans, you probably know the schedule front and back, left and right. This was the game after CJ Stroud went off in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and there was always that feeling of, well, the Bengals are a better team than Tampa, so there's going to be a letdown for CJ Stroud. So let's just, plus the game is in Cincinnati, the game was in Houston, so there's probably that sense of, CJ Stroud, you had a great performance against Tampa Bay, a team that was still trying to find itself at the time. But we're Cincinnati. We went to a Super Bowl. We have our starting quarterback who has been great. Not saying you're not going to be great, CJ, but for right now, keep in mind that we, the Cincinnati Bengals, are the veterans here. We appreciate you, but right now we need to just let you know that we thank you for all you've done. But we need to kick you back a few notches and let you know that you will get there eventually, just not today. And CJ, I guess, forgot to update his memo or forgot to activate his voicemail features on his cell phone because he never got the message. CJ Stroud cemented his rookie campaign with another great performance in a much more hostile environment and against the Cincinnati Bengals. I know it sounds more like a Houston Texan praise than the Bengals lost, but like I said, the Bengals were still flirting with 500 this time. They were like, who are we? We're 4-4, 3-4, 3-3. Oh, who are we? And this is not the worst game as in the Bengals performance because I personally want to eliminate the game that they've lost and even the game they won when Joe Burrow was injured. That's the reason why a lot of these games are before the Joe Burrow injury because I feel like that's a little unfair. Now, we probably say, well, you didn't give the Jets any favor. Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the first 4 plays. I can't squeeze it any tighter than that. If he did first 4 games, maybe I can make that argument. But here, I'm not going to give Joe Burrow and the Bengals a neh or a hee if he wasn't playing, because that tells me that then they weren't at their full strength. So I can't do it, even if their performances at some time were great. I think the Jacksonville game was another great game for them. But I'm trying to give that the best game working was supposed to be that when the team is at full strength and they lose, and the team is at full strength when they win, is how I try to dictate their performances. And sometimes there are some games where it's like I can't really see one greater than the other. So sometimes I flip a coin and think of division rivals, time of the year, blah 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 blah, tofu, Parmesan cheese, whatever, to make the argument there. But for me, against the Houston Texans, which was a great game, one of the great games of the season, and hopefully it cemented a potential rivalry in the AFC with C.J. Stroud and Joe Burrow for the next 10 years. I mean, we got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, of course. Justin Herbert is getting there eventually. We have a lot of rookies in the draft coming up, so potentially we could see something good coming. But C.J. Stroud and Josh Burrow and Joe Burrow could be potential a new young quarterback for the next 10 years of rivalry, and we'll probably see him in the playoffs and in the regular season, because the Baltimore likely be playing each other in the regular season because of schedule and because of ranking place in division. So in this game, it's the worst game because no one thought the Texans were going to match up the week before and beat a Bengal team that was probably that was much better, way more formidable than Tampa was. So it's the worst game because what C.J. Stroud did to a much more veteran team. Looking at the Bengals regular season, even before that game against the Texans, the worst game was probably against Tennessee in week 4. But to me, the first 4 weeks, I try not to use those the best I can to make an argument. So after that, I mean, the loss to Baltimore, division rivalry, that's the division rivalry, okay. But then Joe Burrow had only 100 yards and the injury happened. And after that, the Pittsburgh game where Browning was playing. So I can't really make an argument more than just the Houston Texan game, because C.J. Stroud showed out, showing that last year wasn't a fluke, and to beat the Bengals in their home stadium. Not like the Bengals didn't play bad either. Looking at the stats here, Joe Burrow threw for 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Chase had over 120 yards and a touchdown, and Mixon had a touchdown himself. So it's not like it was a bad thing, but the Texans racked up 544 yards of offense. The Bengals racked up 380. Time possession was roughly even, but it's just the results and the narrative that C.J. Stroud came in Cincinnati and beat you. I beat the dead horse with that. So, your guys' MVP for the Bengals goes to the wide receiver himself, Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase is a lot of receivers that I respect in the sense of they do their jobs well. Ja'Marr Chase lost his teammate, literally LSU, to the Bengals halfway through the season, and he still racked up 1,200 yards. Similar to how I felt about Chris Olave in New Orleans. It's a receiver that comes into the job. Now, Ja'Marr Chase came in, and he was great very early in his career in rookie season. So, seeing him that even has a different quarterback, he's still playing at a high level. He had 100 exact receptions, averaging 12.2 yards a carry, a gain, and 7 touchdowns. Ja'Marr Chase proved that he was the best receiver by far, and with Boyd, Higgins, everyone else, being so far behind, and with his quarterback out, he was still doing his job and still making plays, so I cannot fault him for that. So Ja'Marr Chase is your Cincinnati Bengals MVP. Going to the grave for the rest of the regular season, because Joe Burrow got hurt, I cannot come down as hard. They went 9-8. I'm going to give the Bengals a B. I think a C is a little bit too insulting since they won 9 games. Most division they would have made the playoffs, especially the NFC. They would have made the playoffs with that record. And they still were competitive towards the very end, even when Joe Burrow was lost by week 10. So I can't give them an A. I can't give them a C because a C makes a B for, I guess to make a bad joke here. They get a B for just a bad rap. Burrow got hurt, and they just got a bad rap. So I cannot harp too much on that. So Bengals, you guys get a B. Good job, just like your logo, a B. Tough break, man. So that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Moving on along down, since we're staying in the state of Ohio, let's stay in Ohio a little bit longer, and let's go just down the road or up the road. I don't know where is Cleveland and Cincinnati are on the map. I have a friend that lives in Ohio, but didn't know any of them. I think he's a Bengal fan. Anyway, so we're just going to find Cleveland on the map from where Cincinnati is. I don't know. Sorry. So we're going to talk about the Cleveland Brown because Cleveland rocks as they somehow made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. So fan fiction became a reality. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you very much for watching.